It's Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity with your succulent tip of the day, and I am in the bowels of El Cajon, California. You may remember this installation from 6 months ago. We did this the very beginning of June. Remember the giant rock? How fantastic, this borrowed landscape. And my challenge was to plant out this side of the garden, knowing that I had this giant wall to compete with and this rock, and I needed, to do balancing. Also, it is extremely hot out here. In this part of El Cajon, with this, it looks like the sun is over here. So this is like west facing. Hot, 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 and many days over 100 degrees Fahrenheit throughout July, August, September, even into October. And look, I am ecstatic. We didn't lose a single plant. Now, granted, I convinced the client that we needed to go with things that were tough. She really loves all the soft stuff, all the Echeverias and the little Graptos and the Kalanchoes and the Aeoniums. And I said, not here. So I did do one Echeveria. This is an Echeveria Sahara that is known to be super tough, and even it struggled like crazy in the summer, but it did not die, and it is making a comeback. You can see here that this is all new growth. See how it's light blue, and then these outer leaves are darker, kind of almost a mauve colored. So it is actively growing. It's also got some really cute little babies on the back side here. So now that we're into cooler days, cooler nights, shorter days, I instructed the client that she can do some hand watering of this so that it'll make a comeback. The way we did this is we brought in a copious amount of soil to create some really substantial mounding. And then Greg ran irrigation kind of in lines across the top. So all of the plants that are, left or downstream, if you will, are reliant on water percolating down from up here to hit their roots. So I planted really tough aloes in the slopey parts of this installation. And here's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. This is aloe rudicope, and this one is practically sitting on an irrigation line, and these aren't. So you can see how plump and turgid these leaves are and how green it is, and then see how these look a little desiccated and discolored. So yet they're rooted. I mean, I planted them as cuttings back in June. They have since rooted, but this is another plant that if the client wants it to look more like this, she can throw a little extra water on these. Another really interesting plant development is the Crassula argentea sunsets. This was some pop of color that I desperately wanted to put in this garden. Crassulas are pretty tough, but they can be sensitive, and they are sensitive to burn. They don't tolerate a freeze, and it was a little risky for me to do it. But it's so interesting how, this area microclimatically gets a little more shade, and the jade planted in this area is really healthy and happy looking. The jade planted over here, you can see, is struggling just a little bit. And the one all the way over here that gets hit with the most sun is struggling even more. The beauty of succulents is oftentimes, most of the time they don't die. They struggle, but they don't die. So when you are planting out your gardens, you have to take the microclimates into consideration. And I did my best. I needed, from a design standpoint though, I needed that yellow there. So I took a risk. The Aloe Cameronii, this was a big 15-gallon plant. It was pretty big when I put it in, but look at it starting to, throw off its bloom spikes. It's spectacular. We put in this little variegated yucca. This is such an interesting plant, and it's doing spectacular. All of our Portulacaria afras thriving. Really, if you look down the way, everything is thriving. The Aluaudia procera. If you've got some Aluaudia procera with some, bare branches, don't be alarmed. That's just something that the plant does when it's stressed due to heat or maybe not getting quite as much water as it would like in a perfect world, but it's far from dead. Look at the tips of your branches, and if you can see green new growth, like you can here, you know that this plant is absolutely fine, and it might just be a tiny bit water stressed. Our Mediopita Alba, this is a fantastic centerpiece in a smaller garden because this is a medium-sized agave that tends not to pup. You know that the century plants and the Americanas pup like crazy, and it's not that this one can't, but typically it doesn't, and in this case it hasn't at all according to the client. Dazzlerian longissimum, just fantastic against this white wall, and our Euphorbia Balsami Phobia is spectacular. This one was another one I was a little concerned about. Now in the wintertime, this plant can drop its leaves, and it can also drop its leaves anytime it's super stressed. So the client did get with me with concerns about this plant in the heat of the summer, and I told her just don't stress, don't worry about it, it will be fine. Ardracina Draco. You can see here the underleaves are a little yellow and discolored. That's all old growth. All of the new stuff that has come up post-summer is looking green and vibrant. So if you want to remove these bottom leaves, you absolutely can. This is a tree that will eventually throw off heads. So if you want to limb it up, go for it. The Mangave jaguars defied all of my expectations. This was a really important addition to this garden because I needed texture. This, she wanted this to feel like a textural paradise. And this is such a tropical looking plant with its green leaves and its purple spots. But, again, it can be a little sensitive. I thought, clearly I was wrong. It's not been sensitive. It is absolutely thriving everywhere I've planted it in this garden. And, then I pulled in as many varieties of aloe as I could because I knew that they would love it here in Granite Hills. If you look at the agave quadricolor, you can see that she's starting to throw off babies. And the client asked me if, what to do about that. And I'll tell you what I told her. It depends on what you like. Do you want just one big statement plant? In which case, cull those pups and put them somewhere else. Or do you like the idea of there being kind of a stand of quadricolors? So she kind of likes the idea of this area filling in a little bit. So I told her, let it ride. At any point that you want to thin the herd, you absolutely can without causing any discouragement to the mama plant. And this aloe ferox hybrid baby daddy unknown is about to give herself away. Take a look, Greg, at this bloom stalk that's coming. When this plant blooms out, we'll be able to have a better idea of what we're dealing with in terms of cross. So that's exciting to see what color that bloom is and what shape it takes. And does it go off in a lot of directions? Is it just a single? What's happening? Then over here, this is not irrigated. This is the Cactus Garden, and super happy with all of our little cactus specimens that are in this space. The blue Pilosoceras is getting ready to throw off some flowers. Mine is at home too, and I am so excited. I believe the flowers are white, if I'm not mistaken. Also, at the base of this Pilosoceras, there's a brand new little baby branch that's being born. And you can see there's a little yellowing on that middle one. That's, again, it's stress. It got a little hot, a little dry, but all will be righted as soon as temperatures consistently cool down a little bit. So that little trio of cactus is also super cute. 3 different little mammillaria varieties. Very, very happy with how cute those look. So yes, this has been a really great visit. We are also here consulting with her on her slope in the back. I'll get with you more on that at a later date. I have to run some numbers for her first, but it's going to be a phenomenal project in that it will really help you see some solutions to problems that a lot of people have with erosion and with steep slopes. So that's for another day. We're coming up on Christmas. For those of you that celebrate, I wish you such a happy one. I know this is a hard year, 2020, and we can't be together, but it's, you know what, it's okay. There's hope. This is all going to be behind us soon, and we've come this far. So please, please stay safe until this is over, this COVID is over, and in the meantime, get out in your gardens in the fresh air and just let your plants heal your life. This has been Laura Eubanks of Design for Serenity reporting from Granite Hills, California with your succulent tip of the day.